Hello, and welcome to 10 Dimensions of Wellness, the podcast where we explore what it means to live well in every area of life. Each week, we focus on one of the 10 interconnected dimensions of wellness, offering real stories, expert insight, and tools for sustainable healing and growth. I'm your host, Mika Newton. So today's guest is someone who brings lived experience, professional insight, and deep compassion to the work of wellness. Cami Red is a certified medical nutritionist. She's an author. She's an entrepreneur with degrees in the culinary sciences and nutritional science. She's a former chef turned wellness facilitator. Cami is also the founder of Cami Red Wellness and Dear Black Woman. It's a global movement that includes a book, podcast, and a magazine dedicated to the empowerment and healing of Black women. After surviving breast cancer and overcoming obesity, Cami shifted her life's work to focus on emotional eating, sexual wellness, and cultural healing. Known early in her career as the Erogenous Chef, she now uses cooking therapy to help individuals and couples explore intimacy, communication, and nourishment on every level. Her story is one of resilience, reinvention, and real wellness. Let's get into today's conversation.
That was a lot.
Well, you've done a lot, Cami. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well.
So before we get started, I wanted to personally thank you publicly for this opportunity. For those who do not know, any new viewers and listeners, Cami Red is also the founder, the creator, the producer of this show, 10 Dimensions of Wellness, and she has handed the reins over to me to host, and I'm just so excited, and I'm so honored that you thought so much of me to do this. So thank you.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to no longer be doing this.
You do so much. I say all the time, Cami, I don't know how it's like you've got a battery pack on the back of you and you just keep going like the Energizer Bunny. It's amazing to see, to watch. And you make me tired.
I see that's not, like the funny part about all of this is this show was brought about to talk about the interconnectedness and finding balance in every dimension of wellness that you can think about, from social to spiritual to cultural to sexual to creative wellness to intellectual wellness, every facet, and to show the interconnectedness. And if anybody ever goes back and listens to any of the interviews that I've done over the years with all of the wellness professionals, you'll hear how everything is tied into each other, how all of it's tied into each other. And it's crazy because as a wellness facilitator, and I sit and I listen to people do introductions like you just did of me, and I'm like, oh my God, I am such a bad example of what I'm trying to teach and live.
It's always like that though. It's like it's always do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah, because I'm just like, oh my God, I do all of that. Where do I find time for, balance? Where's the balance in all of this? But, to tell my story, I tell people, I've faced a lot of different things trauma-wise. So, being in breast cancer, I had to stop cooking for about 1.5 years. So I got to sit down during that time. The relationship I was just in took me off the market for about 2 years. And then when I say off the market, I mean off the entire world. Nobody saw or heard from me from 2 years. So I rested for 2 years. So I give myself those excuses and say, it takes something traumatic to make me. And I hate to say this is horrible. That is horrible, Cami, bad Cami. But it takes something traumatic for me to stop going. And I'm getting better at it. I am. I promise you guys I am. I swear to God,
we're going to hold you to it. We're going to hold you to it. You've already got your hand slapped for giving out your number too much.
Oh, yes, I did. I did. And but with passing the microphone to you for this show, passing the microphone to a few other women with a few of the things that I'm doing, creating the chapters of Dear Black Woman. When I say I'm getting better at the rest and getting better at the not doing everything myself part, it's starting to show, and it's definitely a reflection of that. We have chapters of Dear Black Woman now. And yes, it takes some growth and some work for me to do that. But once I grow these chapters, I no longer am a part of any of them anymore. So it's me starting things and passing the reins to other people, which is something as a Black woman, I was taught I was not supposed to do. I was supposed to finish it all the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm learning a whole new aspect of being, and it's opening up a whole new door of quote unquote wellness for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, delegating, I think, for Black women has always been a tough thing to do because we feel like, and the world tells us that we have to do it all and do it all well at the same time. But you mentioned your breast cancer, and I'm assuming that was a turning point that made you take your health seriously. Yes.
Not only my health, but the health of others, because up until that point in time, I was a chef. I'd been just a chef, feeding people, cooking for people, indulging in people's fantasies when it came to food. And breast cancer really opened eyes to the healing effects of food, what we could do to heal our body through eating properly, through nourishing our body with the proper herbs, the proper roots, the proper teas, eating at the proper time, feeding our bodies the right amount of proteins, the right amount of carbs, the right amount of fats at a certain time, eating the most natural, unprocessed way, in the most natural, unprocessed way that we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds you really don't take all of this. Well, you don't think about the importance. Well, we know that food's important, but the details that goes into it. And like you said, when to eat, how to eat, the proportions that you eat. There's a lot more to it than just, cooking your dinner and having a meal. It has to be intentional. Like you have to really think about what you're putting in your body and when.
Yeah. Even with those of you who practice yoga, Ayurvedic, eating says that you shouldn't mix your vegetables and your fruits. So if you follow that with nutrition, you have to feed yourself certain things. So fruit early in the morning, vegetables midday, carbs at night, just different things. But it's all in what your beliefs are as well, too, because you have a lot of people whose religious beliefs dictate their nutrition and dictate what they eat. There are people right now who are fasting for Lent, and they've cut out certain things, seed oils, meat, sugars, processed foods, certain things. Like I said, your religion sometimes, or your spirituality dictates your nutrition. Your trauma dictates your nutrition.
Yeah.
So you eat based upon also the things that you have endured in your past lives, and also the things that you've endured or learned as in your childhood as well. So everything plays its part in what we eat, how we eat, and what we do. We just have to relearn how to reintroduce our bodies to the right foods, the right types of foods, the right timing for foods, the right way to eat, the right things to eat, especially for, different body types, different blood types, different everything. Like everybody ain't meant to be vegan. And I tell people that all the time. Yeah. They say you're healthiest when you eat fruits and vegetables. Yes, you are. But everybody's body is not made to eat just fruits and vegetables. Some people do actually need meat protein. So, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned, that childhood or trauma can dictate how you eat. And it really now puts a different spin on the phrase comfort food. Like that really does come from someplace. Food can bring back certain memories, can bring back certain traumas, or can literally comfort us and take us to that safe place. It may not always be good, because sometimes that comfort food is something that isn't necessarily good for us. But that made me think of that term. I was like, that's a different spin on it.
That is definitely where comfort food comes from. As a nutritionist, one of the things that I am heavily involved with is my clients who have emotional eating disorders. And a lot of people think emotional eating looks like overeating, but that's not necessarily true. As Black women, we have what's called stress eating. That's where we don't eat, or where we eat in what I like to call binge fashion, binge style. That's where we'll sit and we'll snack, or we'll herd food, snacks, and bad things all day long, and then sit and eat one huge meal. Or we don't eat. We go hours and hours without eating, and then we'll consume these large calorie meals because our body is yearning for something. So what we don't realize is a lot of that comes from a lot of the things that we've dealt with over the years, where we've told ourselves, okay, well, I don't need food to survive this, and I don't need this. And, you know, maybe there was food instability in our household when we were younger, or maybe we grew up in situations where, as we got older, there became scarcity of food, you know, after college. So we had to survive and we had to do this. Or maybe we work a job so stressful that it is turning off, you know, our ability to do the little small things that we need in order to function throughout the day. So a lot of people don't realize that that's emotional eating as well.
Got it. That's interesting. That's interesting. And you mentioned, you know, sometimes the stress eating also means not eating at all and then like having a big meal afterwards. What's the difference between that and fasting? Is it the amount of food that you're eating after, you know, you're not eating? Because the first thing I thought of was fasting.
So fasting, you're doing it in a responsible way. Fasting, you're doing it in a way that when you break your fast, you should be eating a small, healthy meal. So most Muslims, if you are following Ramadan and it just passed, if you notice at night, they don't eat heavy, hard meals. When they break their fast, they're eating small meals that are, you know, healthy in what they provide their bodies. They're providing their bodies just enough sustenance just to get by. You get what I'm saying? It's not like it's this huge, you know, heavy meal that's high in calories, high in fat, high in saturated fats, high in, you know, sugars, high in salt. It's none of that. When we stress eat and we binge eat at the end, where we're not eating all day, we're eating McDonald's, we're eating Wendy's, we're eating high calorie fast food, and we're consuming it in portions that we should not be consuming it in.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring that up because I know people personally that will do the intermittent fasting or whatever for health reasons, but then turn around and the meal that they're eating, I'm like, I feel like you're completely undoing everything you set out to do with the fasting. So I wanted to make sure that we put that out there, that there is a difference.
How we lie to ourselves to excuse our behaviors. Okay.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I want to take this a little.
We say to ourselves to excuse the things that are not acceptable.
Yeah. In just about every facet of life. Mm-hmm. But taking this to the earlier part of your career. So you were known as the Erogenous Chef. How has that early identity evolved into the cooking therapy you do now?
So, okay, starting out, I'm a businesswoman, and I tell people this all the time. I'm a businesswoman. I love to cook. So naturally, I'm one of those people where I look to carve my own lane in every industry that I'm in. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I never want to be
good at it.
Yeah. I never want to be like anybody else. Never. So I started out doing body buffets. I like to tell people, Google me, because I was cooking with Kaya before cooking with Kaya was a thing. Okay. I was walking around here in my chef's jacket, 6-inch heels, and short shorts and mini skirts. Okay. That's what I was doing. And as you grow in life and in business, you transition. And that had to transition into something. It couldn't just be that raunchiness all the time. So just like we grow up in life and you go from one stage to another, my business went from one stage to another. So
Right.
I went from talking to couples about sex all the time and food and sex and this, that, and the third, to really talking about the meat of everything, intimacy and communication, breaking it down. Why do you have the sexual problems that you have? It's not just about the positions and the food and any of that. No, it's really about your view on communication and your view on intimacy. And let's figure out ways to fix those so that you no longer have those repeated sexual issues anymore within your relationship.
And would you say, is that the basis? Is that the definition? If you were to tell our viewers what the definition of cooking therapy is, would that be it?
No, absolutely not. The definition of cooking therapy is taking a life skill and incorporating therapy in a way that is not recognizable to the human mind, but also incorporating and teaching you how to work through things while also giving you and teaching you manual labor. And what I mean by that is some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, some people are physical learners. We take all three of those things and wrap it together and go over things like leadership, communication, intimacy, teamwork, all of that, things that we talk about in therapy, and we just do that in the kitchen and instead of in a therapy session or in an office setting.
That's amazing. And I had never, until I met you, had never heard of cooking therapy. And I love the concept and the idea of it. So how do you use it to support the emotional or the sexual wellness in individuals or couples?
So for me, I have written a book called The Communication Grocery List. And what I do is we start at the very beginning. So just like at the very beginning of cooking, it starts with going grocery shopping. So in my book, we go through several techniques where first we go grocery shopping and you choose from 5 items that are on that list of things. And you pick those items that you want to deal with, whether it's communicating about the past, talking about the future, giving more compliments, being honest with yourself, being authentic. Those are some of the things, and they're tied to different ingredients. So you might be, chicken and chocolate and yogurt. So now we take these items back to your kitchen and we first come up with a meal that we're going to prepare, like you plan Chopped with me, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. We come up with a meal that we're going to prepare. In my book, I have put over 25 different dishes that you can make from any of these items that you put together. Now, as we're preparing this dish and as we're preparing these meals, we're talking about some of the things that you have highlighted with the choices of foods that you have picked. So if it's communicating about the past, then we start to talk about why it's so hard for you and your partner or you and your team to communicate with each other about past experiences. What roadblocks are you guys putting up with each other? So it's literally a therapy session right there in the kitchen. And while you're in therapy, you're cooking a meal, because at the end of that therapy session, you're going to sit down and eat together.
That is brilliant, Cami. And the fact that I haven't heard of it before, and what even made you put the two together? Like,
that's like asking me why I put food and sex together. I just told you it's business. You fill in the gaps. The same way with the whole Dear Black Woman brand. I just finished having a conversation with someone about me wanting to be the next Essence, and them telling me that there is in fact a path, and there is a possibility that can happen, because there's an open door for that right now. And I explained to her, I said, I have recognized where certain companies have lacked and fallen off. And all I want to do is fill in the gaps. And that is what I do with cooking therapy. See, I learned that from my grandmother. Pay attention to your ancestors and your elders, okay? Think about this. I'm telling my age with this, but you are of the same age that I am, so you understand. When we were growing up, I saw my grandmother cook and feed people all the time. But have you ever paid attention that when anybody ever came over your grandmother's house or your aunt's house or whomever was the person that gave the advice in the family, they always sat at the kitchen table and they either got a piece of cake, some tea, they got a plate of food, something that was set in front of them, and the other person sat on the other side and listened, and they talked and they gave advice over a meal, correct?
Correct.
Or your grandmama was standing in the kitchen on a Sunday night cooking food for Saturday, for Sunday morning, giving advice to your aunties and uncles about whatever was going on in their marriage or situation like that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now that you think about it, in relationships, one of my favorite things to do is be in the kitchen with my man while we're cooking and having a glass of wine and talking and bonding.
It's the communication. So in a kitchen, in a commercial kitchen, one of the things that you have to do in order to be successful is communicate. I am a professional chef. I have not just been a personal chef. I have worked in a commercial setting as well. So I've taken all of the things that I've learned from being a chef and incorporated them into relationship therapy. I am a licensed therapist. I am a relationship coach. I have my certification in that. I am a licensed sex therapist. I've taken everything that I have learned and incorporated all of that into doing this, because here's the thing. There is something to be learned in every aspect of our lives. We talk about the interconnectedness of wellness, the interconnectedness of our lives. I've taken the business aspect of things and interconnected them to the personal aspect of things, because a lot of people don't look at marriage and relationships like this, but it's a business partnership. And if the more you start to see it that way, the better of an understanding you will have of your partner, of your resources, and who you are in your relationship. And I think that's very important that people understand that. Relationships are no different than business partnerships or, anything of that matter. Some of y'all are even franchisees. So,
Oh, Kevin, I've watched you over the past few months, juggle everything that you juggle. And, and I see people come up to you, strangers, and you give them your number and you offer to help, and you're a therapist and you're a chef, you're all these things. How do you balance your compassion for people and for your clients with protecting your own mental and emotional energy?
I'm a Gemini, so at some point, I just say I'm not dealing with nobody no more, and I go into isolation.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. That's important.
And people get mad. People get very angry because they're used to having me all the time, and they get reliant upon me. But my friends and people who understand, they know that at a certain point, I'm going to shut everything down. I'm going to go into isolation mode, and I'm no longer going to be around. I am learning not to do that for the sake of my brand and my business, because I am not a social media person. It's not in me that I have to, like, as much as I preach it and teach it to my business clients, in me to be consistent on social media is not a thing. It's not a necessity. It's one of those things where it's like, I've already built what I'm going to build. Why do I use social media for what I need it for? It doesn't control me. And I want most of us to get to that level, but I understand that a lot of people are just building themselves, and a lot of people, in order for you to grow, you do have to be consistent on there. Whereas me, I've broken my social media down. I did have 5,000 friends on Facebook. I deleted every last one of them too. Yeah.
Why?
here's the thing. If I got 5,000 people on my Facebook page, 6,000 people on my Instagram, 7,000 people on my TikTok, I should be making at least $10,000 to $20,000 a month. If I'm not making that, then those people don't need to be just watching me. The people that need to be on my page, the people that need to be around me are the people that are supporting me and that I am supporting equally.
Okay. Yeah. Equal exchange of energy, period. Yeah. You know, and we're both, you know, in the wellness space. I know what, you know, my challenges have been, but what does it mean for you to be a Black woman in the wellness and nutrition space today?
Girl, just to be a Black woman, period.
Honey, I know, period. And then you add on the layers in the wellness space, in the nutrition space, in the media space.
We're constantly trying to prove ourselves. We're constantly trying to show that we have what it takes to be successful. I am so tired of that. I am so beyond that. It has been a bumpy ride. I have not always taken the right road. I am not without fault myself. I've done some things that I'm not proud of, but that's because I've had to hustle and grow and, you know, get out here and make my own way as a Black woman in this arena. I went from having a wellness facility in Myrtle Beach to being the executive director of a nonprofit and teaching in Texas. So it's been, you know, like I'm from Atlanta and everybody in Atlanta is doing the same thing. So for me, the space has been just finding my own space, creating my own niche, and just being the person that I want to be authentically and not kowtowing to anybody else's, what anybody else thinks I should be or how anybody else thinks I should act. So.
Yeah, and that's a bold stance to take as a Black woman. I feel like there's an awakening happening right now in our community. Like Black women are tired. They're tired of the stereotypes that are put on us, the expectations that are put on us, and we're setting up all these boundaries, and we're, you know, doing what makes us happy. We're turning back to joy, and I just feel it across my friend group. I see it on social media. There's just this beautiful awakening happening for us, and I love it for us.
Yeah, because I'm happy for us for this. This is why I'm so grateful that God gave me the vision for Dear Black Woman. I'm so grateful for all of you all who I have crossed paths with. I am so grateful to see so many beautiful, dynamic Black women prosper, grow, thrive, flourish, and just be the best version of themselves that they can be. My slogan is be happy, healed, and whole. And that's all I want for Black women, is to be happy, to be healed, and to be whole.
Be whole. That's beautiful. What kind of legacy are you building for your clients, your community, and your own family?
I don't know. And I thought about that question even as I wrote that question for myself. I don't know. The reason I don't know is because my life has taken so many different turns and so many different paths and so many different roads. And I'm good at a lot of different things. And I'm grateful to God for all the talents that he's given me. But what I do know is that I want to be seen and I want to be known as someone who was out here and who was willing to put not only themselves on the line, but their lives on the line and everything else that mattered on the line to see their community grow and thrive.
That's beautiful. And to get out of and to thrive, and I like that word, to thrive, not to survive, to just survive. No.
We have to get out of survival mode. We got to get out of fight mode. I don't even really want us in survival mode. I mean, like, I don't want us just thriving. I want us living and thriving. I want us dancing. I want us partying. The stuff we doing right now is we ignore what's going on in the world.
Exactly. Getting those fans out.
I want us to consistently be in that mode, but I want us to be in that mode in a healthy and healed way.
Yes. So is that was going to be my next question, is what is your message to listeners that are still in survival mode?
It's time. It's time to get out of that mode. It's time to take the necessary steps. If that looks like going to therapy, if that looks like writing a book, whatever that looks like, it's time. And if you need some help writing a book, hit me up. I do that too. If that looks like recording a podcast, recording a mini auto series, if that looks like, creating a business, a nonprofit, any of that, if that just looks like being a key community leader, then do that. If that looks like just being at home with your kids, do that too. But it's time to get out of survival mode. We no longer are in a place where we have to survive. If we step into our power and know who we are and know what our worth and know our value, we will be unstoppable. And I just want that, for everyone.
That's beautiful, Cammie. And you're a walking, living, breathing example of that. You exude so much joy every time I talk to you, even in the midst of confusion or chaos. You're just always a bright light, always. And I thank you for that. And I'm just so honored to be a part of your circle.
Yay!
I am. And I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being the first guest for my first time as a host.
I feel like I need confetti to shoot off one of them.
I know. Like one in the can.
I'm so proud of you. This was so awesome. Thank you for allowing me to give this to you. And thank you for taking it, running with it, and making the best of it. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Cammie. Before we go, I need you to tell our listeners how to find you, your social media, your website. Give us everything.
All right, y'all. I'm everywhere. Cammie Red for Life on Instagram, on Facebook. Cammie Red. You can literally just put Cammie Red in Google, and I'm going to come up everywhere. My websites are cammiered.com, dearblackwoman.me. Google Cammie Red, and I'm everywhere. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Cammie.
All right.
That was today's episode of 10 Dimensions of Wellness. A big thank you to our guest, Cammie Red, for sharing her journey and her insights. If today's conversation moved you or gave you something new to think about, please share it with someone you care about. Leave us a comment wherever you're viewing this podcast or listening. Cammie's work is a reminder that healing isn't linear and that true wellness requires us to pay attention to every part of our lives, from how we eat and connect to how we care for our emotional and sexual health. You can follow Cammie on social media at Cammie Red, and that's 2 Ds and red for the number 4 life. So Cammie Red for Life, and learn more about her programs, her books, wellness retreats at cammiered.com. Again, that's 2 Ds. So remember, wellness isn't just one thing. It's everything working together. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep growing. Until next time. Thank you.